Where's my sound coming from? Sorry, 80s, you gotta chill out. But yeah, let's see. Did they cover it in here? I think they did.
Tonight, the House overwhelmingly
yeah, TikTok. Oh wow. Okay, so it's the first story.
Over national security concerns over TikTok's Chinese parent company.
Chinese TikTok parent company. It's the damn commies again. It's like they never left, man. Hang on, I gotta crank this stuff up. 1 second. Probably like right there.
National security risk carried the day in the House. The bill approved on a.
So the framing instantly from NBC News is going to be all of the points that the Republicans or that the politicians that want this banned have been trying to make this whole time. It's a national security risk. It's Chinese owned, so it's an outside entity, right? We have to list all the dangers of this very dangerous app to our national security that is invading our privacy. There's very few companies that have the right to invade our privacy, and they better be American, damn it. Because, you know, we signed that Patriot Act, and by golly, we're going to use it. So, this is the NBC News story that aired this afternoon on the nightly news. Here we go.
52 to 65 vote, with 1 Democrat voting present. In all, 50 Democrats and 15 Republicans voted against the bill, which now heads.
Okay, yeah, that's, even though it's 352 is definitely bipartisan, by the way. I think the ratio was something like maybe 160 and like 130. Oh wait, that math doesn't add up. It was like whatever 352 needs to be, but a slight majority was Republican. So definitely a bipartisan bill that was
Democrat
passed.
Voting present. In all, 50 Democrats and 15 Republicans voted against the bill, which now heads to the Senate. TikTok, which denies its service as a spy tool, claims 7 million small businesses and 170 million.
Okay, I'm going to say, I don't know so much about it being a spy tool, but it definitely knows you better than your mama. That's for sure. It will figure you out, and you know, if you've watched that, you know, those dancing Latinas for a little bit longer than like 5 seconds, it knows you want to see some more. So yeah, TikTok definitely knows what's going on in your brain.
American users, and in a statement urges the Senate to consider the facts, listen to their constituents, and realize the impact on the economy. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson applauding the vote in a statement saying it signals our resolve to deter our enemies. NBC's Savannah.
Who's the enemy? Oh my God. So Mike Johnson's a religious fanatic, right? He's apostolic, which that in itself is a red flag. But I think really more of him and his stories that have come out about the information that he shares with his son and whatnot. A little wacky stuff. Uh-oh. My computer doing weird things again? No? Okay, good.
Sellers has details.
The bill needed 2/3 of the House to pass, and it got that easily.
The yeas are 352, the nays are 65.
Now it goes to the Senate, where it will likely face a tougher road. If signed into law, it would give Chinese parent company ByteDance just...
Chinese parent company. Okay, got it. So it'll be banned in 6 months, supposedly, if they don't divest, which means that they would have to open up their own company, right?
6 months to divest TikTok or face the possibility of a ban on the app.
A possibility of a ban.
By national security concerns, including fears the Chinese government could access Americans' personal data and feed them content that would influence their views.
Our intention is for TikTok to continue to operate, but not under the control of the Chinese Communist Party.
We're still living in Red Scare America of like the 60s and the 70s. Or yeah, of you know, the McCarthy era. trying to turn, and look at his face. Also, he's got like a little smile because he knows that what he said is just a bunch of bullshit. That the Communist Party is going to, take over, and we're fighting communism because communism is godless, and America is stands with religion, and stands with Jesus, and those commies, they don't pray at all. That kind of dumb shit is what it's really kind of rooted in. But yeah, to say the Chinese Communist Party is responsible for this, it's like saying like the United States government is responsible for Facebook or something, right? It's just dumb. It's a silly tangent to go off on.
50 Democrats and 15 Republicans.
Yeah, there it is. 197 and 194 for yes, for a yay.
Voted no.
It's an overly broad bill that I don't think will withstand First Amendment scrutiny.
It's opening Pandora's box, and I'm opposed to this bill.
Aligning with former President Trump, who once tried to ban TikTok, but now says he's against that. TikTok fighting back hard, even.
Yeah, because he knows that you're losing the young voter base by doing that, right? Yeah, they keep saying that TikTok's all young viewers and young users. In a way, it is. I know there are older millennials and boomers and whatnot that do use TikTok. My former boss, for example, or older people that I know, for example, that definitely get trapped on TikTok, and every time they open it up, it's just like dancing girls on there, and it's like, well, that's your algorithm, bro. That TikTok has figured you out. But it's definitely the younger generations is what they're targeting here with this. And it's because everybody uses TikTok, especially a younger demographic. And it's a way to censor what they're seeing, right, in order to get rid of it.
Flying creators to Washington.
In my view, it's going to backfire, because all this is going to do is encourage users to use the app even more and bring attention to the app for users or for people that may have not been using it. Because what's cooler than being cool is going and doing something that's going to be banned, right?
Hello, this is my son.
Jason Linton shares his life as a dad with his 13 million followers.
What would it mean for you and your family if TikTok were to be banned in the U.S.?
It would be devastating. Being able to just launch out a positive message would be completely stopped.
Wish it was a bad dream, but it's not.
JT Laybourne uses TikTok to promote his clothing company.
Do you think this could impact how people vote?
100%. There will be people that will not be reelected because of the way they choose to vote on this ban.
TikTok says it has 170 million users in the U.S. According to an NBC News poll, 22% of voters say they use the app once a day or more. The potential political fallout with those young voters not lost on some senators.
Cutting out a large group of young voters is not the best known strategy for re-election.
Republican Mike Gallagher, one of the bill's sponsors, says that's not a good enough reason to ignore a looming national security threat.
I don't think courting the clicks of 17-year-olds should take precedence over allowing our foremost foreign adversaries.
Dog, we gave everything away with the Patriot Act. I don't know if you remember that 20-some years ago. But yeah, all of our privacy essentially went out the window with 9/11 and the Patriot Act, right? So that was before cell phones were as technologically advanced as they are now. I think back then we just had your Nokia little phone that with the glowing dot matrix screen, right? They weren't what they are today, but the Patriot Act set a precedence of what we can give away just by a tap, right?
Necessary to dominate.
So to say that China is stealing our information, no, in reality, Google's stealing all of our information. Our own companies are what's stealing our information, and TikTok ByteDance is just using the policies that are already in place to gain that information.
Increasingly becoming the primary.
We opened the gateway
source
for them.
For Americans under the age of 30.
TikTok says its CEO was on the Hill today, but it's unclear if he met with lawmakers. The company maintains it is not owned or controlled by the Chinese government.
This legislation, if signed into law, will lead to a ban of TikTok in the United States.
Savannah, what's the thinking and how this...
But is what was the hold on, because we're trying to when he was on the Hill last time and Tom Cotton was interviewing him, Tom Cotton was like, have you ever been part of the Chinese Communist Party? And he's like, I'm from Singapore. That's a completely different country. So if you don't know about Singapore, I believe you have to serve in the Singaporean military, and you pledge your allegiance to Singapore. Essentially, you would have no chance of ever being part of the Chinese Communist Party. In that sense, we have idiots in charge here. This guy is also one of them.
For Americans under the
they
age of
probably
30.
don't even know, where Singapore is on a map.
It's unclear if he met with
I'd have
lawmakers.
to guess. Definitely Tom Cotton doesn't know that.
Not owned or controlled.
Also, they show him, and then they show the Chinese flag.
By the Chinese government.
This legislation, if signed into law, will lead to a ban of TikTok in the United States.
Savannah, what's the thinking
His name
of how
is
this
Chu.
bill might fare in the Senate?
Its future is uncertain. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has been non-committal about bringing it up for a vote. Meanwhile, the leaders of the Senate Intelligence Committee released a statement praising the bill and calling for Senate action. President Biden has said that if it passes, he will sign it. Lester?
Oh my God. Yeah, you're definitely not winning votes there, man. If they actually pass the bill, if the bill passes the House, well, it already did the House. If the bill passes the Senate and then it gets to Biden, then Biden said that he's going to go ahead and pass it. You're what a dumbass fucking strategy this guy is running, man. What's next here? Still TikTok. More TikTok. All right, let's go.
For Senate action. President Biden has said that if it passes, he will sign it. Lester?
Savannah Sellers at the Capitol tonight. Thank you.
Is there any voting block that he's not trying to lose? Is the better question.
What is the potential threat to national security that many say TikTok poses? And how could your data potentially be used? Senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson reports.
It's not the trends that worry top U.S. officials, but the threats they say TikTok poses, sounding the alarm about the popular app's Chinese-based ownership. TikTok?
Yes, the Chinese flag always pops up. Like when you open TikTok, it's like fucking like it plays the Chinese. Can I type? No, I can't type. What's up with that? My keyboard's not working. Hold on. China National Communist. Yeah, every time I open TikTok, it plays this. Literally. Like this is what it looks like. When you get to this screen, like that's what's playing.
Popular app's Chinese-based ownership.
TikTok presents serious national security risks to the people of the United States.
Americans need to ask themselves whether they want to give the Chinese government the ability to control access to their data.
Like many
these fucking boomers are so out of touch with the way technology works. Prime example is this moron who literally has no idea probably what TikTok even is.
An attempt to ban. This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe, a winner. This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make...
Oh, good. Okay, so she thought of that one overnight, right? Tic-tac-toe. We got to make TikTok better. A winner. It's just out of touch. Politicians have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea how this stuff works. I think the last time they were interviewing the guy that was on the Hill, the CEO of TikTok, they were asking him if TikTok accesses the Wi-Fi, and it's like, what the fuck does that mean, man? Like, what questions are you asking here? You couldn't run these questions, by your granddaughter to make sure that they actually make sense, because they don't, and it's an obvious show of not knowing what is going on with this subject.
Apps, TikTok collects user information like IP addresses, approximate location, synced contacts, and more. The concern? Not only
Every
that
app
China,
does
the
that.
CCP, might be able to see all that info, but how they could use it, especially in an election year.
You cannot
They're doxing us. Oh, you mean TikTok's going to do the same thing that Cambridge Analytica did in 2016? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about the issues that Facebook had, and the documentaries that did come out and cover that, that covered the influences that Facebook had, that Meta created, essentially, where they took that information and they sold it to campaigns to be able to push advertising and specific like campaign ads at people that they knew were either toss-up voters or just kind of like independent or not going to vote at all.
Rule out that the CCP could again use TikTok.
But instead, we're changing the subject here, and we're saying that it's communism. Communism bad.
As a platform to influence 2024 elections, right?
We cannot rule out that the CCP could use it. Correct.
Now, fears the Chinese government could covertly spread mis- and disinformation. All of it part of the broader battle with one of the world's biggest economic powerhouses.
I think this is one of the rungs on the way up the ladder of a Cold War type dispute between the United States and China. There's so many more opportunities for the Chinese to influence the American population.
TikTok's already...
Dog, we're like, everything that you buy is literally made in China. What are you talking about, man? Like, probably this tape measure is made in China. This fucking KVM switch, made in China. Like, they're trying to scare people by pointing out that, oh man, China's taken over. China wants to, take all your stuff, basically. Those commies, they always want to, take all your property and, nationalize the train system and whatnot. These are the same idiots that have made all the policies for all of this to be possible. They're the idiots that made all of these companies have the ability to outsource labor to China, to overseas, out of the United States. The only thing that we make here in the United States now is bombs. It's weapons of war. Like, that's it. Like, we got call centers and we got bombs. Which ones do you want?
And on government-owned devices in the U.S. and in countries like Canada and Australia. India banned the app altogether. TikTok has long insisted it works to protect personal info, pointing out new U.S. user data is stored on a U.S.-based cloud, and it denies China's government controls the app.
The bottom line is this. American data stored on American soil by an American company, overseen by American personnel.
In a letter to Congress, TikTok says it's invested more
That doesn't sound like the CCP has anything to do with it.
than $1.5 billion to address concerns and argues U.S. data could be less secure if the company is sold. Lester?
Hallie, thank you. Also tonight, what could be the biggest snowstorm in years about to hit
There's a different
Denver,
story,
and
man.
severe
What are you talking
weather
about?
headed for parts of the Midwest. Bill Currens joins us. He's tracking it
All right, so that's
Lester, this
it
crippling
for
snowstorm will be
NBC talking about TikTok. I still want to talk about TikTok more because I do have a couple other stories that are related to TikTok. So yeah, Nancy Pelosi, ma'am, take a nap. Yeah, definitely needs to take a nap. Now, there's a couple things. Here's a conspiracy theory. I don't know if I want to say it's a conspiracy just because this is video of them actually saying that they need to ban TikTok. But I posted about this earlier. Is this Mike Gallagher? Yeah.
It can never be used to penalize individuals.
So this is from the floor of their plan to get rid of TikTok. Alina posted this, said Mike Gallagher, Republican of Wisconsin, admits that the real reason they're rushing to ban TikTok is because it's becoming the dominant news platform for Americans under 30. And the U.S. government doesn't control it like other platforms. Right. I think what we've seen with Facebook and with Meta and Twitter, especially now that it's gone private, is the heavy influence of American authorities being able to access information. I mean, hell, the authorities can literally access your Ring camera if you haven't changed your default settings, essentially, or if you set it up in a certain way. So yeah, that information is available to the American authorities, or to the American government, I guess you would phrase it that way, right? But it seems like TikTok is not that available. So what I said here is it's more than just the dominant news platform. It's the algorithm, and really that's what they're really kind of angry about, is they can't control the algorithm. The algorithm is designed to suck you in. It is way more addictive than probably any other algorithm that's used. I would say it's worse than YouTube's. It's worse than the For You pages that you see on Twitter or Threads or Instagram. It's definitely a lot more captivating. Like I said, TikTok measures your every move. How long you view a video, it definitely does that. It measures how long you view a video, what kind of video was it, like what category, what was going on in it, at what parts did you watch it in, because that data is available. Like if you've ever uploaded videos and you've made content, you're like, if you've ever been on the content creator side of the way statistics are, you can see when people chime in and like look at the video or what they skip to. Hell, you see it on YouTube videos where it tells you, go to the most replayed part. All of that information is available. Now, TikTok is doing that all kind of in the background as you're sitting there watching the video. It'll keep tabs of whether or not you like the video. It'll keep tabs of what part of the video did you watch, what part of the video did you go back to, did you scroll back to it, did you rewind, did you fast forward, did you skip it, were you not interested in that type of content. It records all of that shit. So all of that determines what the next video or what the next set of videos you're going to get, especially the next time you log in, because that information will be calculated and it will be presented to you. Like I said, this is great for keeping users locked in and swallowing your time whole. But when it comes to an ongoing war and genocide, we never have had a thirst for information like we do today. I think what we're seeing is a lot of people interested in either the genocide that's going on in Gaza, because it's something that's currently going on that hasn't happened to that magnitude in a while. Also, it is a current event, and also they are using TikTok to upload these videos. And as you watch one video, if you watch the whole thing and you rewatch it again, guess what? The algorithm's going to serve you up another video just like it, related content. That's something that they can't control. That's something that the algorithm controls. That's something that you control as a user. So I also said the endless supply and ability of TikTok to continue to find related content and feed its user is what makes it a threat. So by continuously giving you those same videos, those same types of videos of buildings in Gaza being blown up, of men being carted off or marched off and then executed, of a Merkava tank being blown up by an RPG, it's going to give you more related content of that type. Unlike when, here I said, when we watch the news, we get our 30 minutes of sanctioned news time, and that's it. Not too much, not too little, just enough to satisfy most curiosities. TikTok goes beyond that, and it becomes a curated feed. of what you found most interesting of the available content. And the reason I say is available content is what people are able to upload, right? If nobody's uploading content, then you're not going to see the content, obviously. But TikTok is a heavily used app. It's very easy to use. I'll say the video editor is really easy to use compared to like Instagram Reels. In my opinion, I think Instagram Reels is complete trash. TikTok, very simple, very user-friendly, very newbie-friendly. And so uploading content, very easy. Viewing content, even easier. Getting addicted to viewing the content, it just happens. I'll open TikTok and I'll get stuck on there for like 5 minutes and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go do something else. And then I'll make sure that I close it. And there's a thing that it does, like when you try to close the app, it actually backs out to the previous video to show you another video. And instead of closing instantly, instead of exiting, and that's definitely caught me a few times. These are all features that are designed to keep the user engaged, right? So I said the user loses control by this existing, by the algorithm existing, and the user being the orchestrator of their own content for consumption. So that's something that happens by design, right? Because the more content that you see that you want to see, well, the more content you're going to stick around to watch. That's how their algorithm is designed. Unlike YouTube, which is extremely annoying about ads, they present you ads all the time. Even Twitch, if you don't go in and mess with your settings, Twitch will run ads probably like every 30 minutes for like 5 minutes or something like that. If you don't have like Twitch Turbo, you're not subscribed, which Daphne, I did see Daphne subscribed. That's awesome. Thank you. If you are subbed, that's the only way to get around ads, right? Because that's the way that that companies that operate in the United States want to make profit, is they want to make profit off of all the advertising that they can push in front of your face. But what TikTok wants to do is TikTok wants to keep you locked in so that you continue to use TikTok, and then you continue to start uploading stuff on your own because you see stuff and you're like, oh, I could upload that, I could do it myself. Like the whole dance craze, people mimicking dances and making their own content or doing duets, stuff that'll keep the user not only engaged but turn that person from a user to a content creator. Like I said, it's a very easy to use app. It keeps users engaged. It keeps users locked in. For an entertainment purpose, it's great at that. For what's going on and what these guys are pissed off about, and in particular what this guy is pissed off about, it sucks for them because here is a video from. This was from. The globalists. Oh my god. Okay, this person's probably like gone too far into anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But here's a clip from some months ago. Let me see if we have audio. Oh god, I'm gonna have to crank this up real loud.
But we need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti.
So this guy is the CEO of the ADL. In his private conversation here, he pointed out that TikTok. Basically the issue of support is not left or right, and it really isn't. The issue of support in the United States for Israel is really controlled by AIPAC. AIPAC's purpose is to influence the representatives in the United States government to continue to support the state of Israel. That really is the entire purpose of AIPAC, right? So to lose support would mean to lose the state eventually, because if you don't have the United States sending $3 billion every year, then you're going to either have to find another source of money or actually comply with what the changes would be. So yeah, here he says that, you know, there's a number of users, a number of young people that think that that October 7th was justified. And then he points out that there's a TikTok problem. There's a problem with TikTok in itself. So one thing that's not really being talked about here, and I kind of pointed it out when I said that, you know, these guys are going after one specific app. They're not going back and changing any of the policies that were implemented 20 years ago, right? Or that have been modified since then. They're not going back and saying, oh yeah, maybe we're giving a little bit too much privacy out, you know, for the American person, for the American citizen. Maybe American citizens should have more privacy than we've kind of stripped from them. Nobody's saying that. No politician is saying that in the United States. Rather than going back and giving us more rights like we used to have, they would just rather ban the problem. And here's, you know, one source. You could say it's a conspiracy theory, you could say it's not, but I think GDF really went into it. I do want to play this video. He's right in the edge, but before we get into the GDF video, here's a Wall Street Journal video. This is from 2 years ago. And I know I've talked about the algorithm and how it works. I think they describe it better here.
Okay, has anyone else noticed that your For You page has been a little too accurate lately? It hasn't been things that I'll Google or I talk about. It's been thoughts.
TikTok knows everything about us.
Hold up, don't scroll. Let me ask you something first. Can someone please explain how this algorithm works?
TikTok users often wonder how the world's fastest growing social network seems to know them.
This is only 2 years ago and it's already really cringe.
So well.
TikTok's secretly listening to us while we're watching videos? I don't know.
The answer to how this app gets to know you so intimately is a highly secretive algorithm, long guarded by TikTok's China-based parent company, ByteDance.
TikTok has been so successful in terms of implementing their algorithms.
TikTok's algorithm can influence the thinking of U.S. youth.
To understand how it knows users so well, the Wall Street Journal created over 100 automated TikTok accounts, or bots, that watched hundreds of thousands of videos on the app. We also spoke to current and former executives at the company. Officially, the company says that shares, likes, follows, and what you watch all play a role in what TikTok shows you. We found that TikTok only needs one of these to figure you out.
Wow.
How long you linger over a piece of content. Every second you hesitate or rewatch, the app is tracking you.
I just want to quiet the noise.
Through this one powerful signal, TikTok learns your most hidden interests and emotions, and drives you deep into rabbit holes of content that are hard to escape.
Oops.
My happy guy. Oh, just a happy.
The TikTok experience starts the same way for everyone.
Silly doggy.
Open the app, and you'll immediately see an endless string of videos in your For You feed.
No, stop
Take
that.
this new user, a 24-year-old from Henry County, Kentucky. TikTok starts by serving the account a selection of very popular videos vetted by app moderators. Is this person religious?
I still have a purpose, and you still hold a plan for my life.
Do they want to participate in viral dances? Are they feeling down lately?
Just remember, I loved you once, and that love goes for a friend, family, or any relationship.
What TikTok doesn't know is that the 24-year-old from Kentucky isn't a person at all. It's one of the bot accounts programmed by the Wall Street Journal.
Jesus.
Let's call it Kentucky 96. We set up these accounts to understand how TikTok figures out your unexpressed interests. We assigned each bot a date of birth and an IP address, which told TikTok their location.
Right.
None were given a gender. We gave each bot or user interests, but those interests were never entered into the app. The only way our users expressed their interests was by rewatching or pausing on videos with related hashtags or images. Some were into extreme sports. Others were interested in forestry, or dance, or astrology.
I'm not the babysitter, I'm not the parent.
Or some other topic.
Keep scrolling if you hate animals.
For all our accounts, we found that TikTok draws users in at first by serving a wide variety of videos, many with millions of views. Then, as the algorithm sees what you respond to, the selection of videos and the view counts can get lower and lower, with fewer of them vetted by moderators to see if they violate TikTok's terms of service. We reviewed our experiment and its results with a data scientist, an algorithm expert in Guillaume Chasleau.
So the other thing, I don't know if they mentioned this in here. Well, there's still 10 minutes to go. But if you upload a video, there's a slim chance that your video will go viral. And TikTok the algorithm will purposely push it. If you are a person that hasn't made a lot of videos, or it's the first time that you've uploaded a video, you essentially, you get kind of like one golden ticket to go viral. And it might happen a few times. It might never happen. But it definitely is a thing, because if that happens to you, then guess what? You're going to want to upload more videos. So more user engagement.
Engineer who worked on YouTube's algorithm. He's now an advocate for algorithm transparency. He says TikTok is different from other social media platforms.
The algorithm on TikTok can get much more powerful, and it can be able to learn your vulnerabilities much faster.
In fact, TikTok fully learned many of our account's interests in less than 2 hours. Some it figured out in less than 40 minutes.
Wow.
On YouTube, more than 70% of the views come from the recommendation engine. So it's already huge, but on TikTok it's even worse. It's probably like 90-95% of the content that is seen that comes from the recommendation engine.
This is a visualization made from hashtags attached to the videos our bots watched. Think of it as a partial view of the universe of TikTok content. Here's where we find dance videos. Over here are the cooking videos. The spindly arms stretching out of the center represent niche content areas. This arm starts with general videos of cute animals. But if we follow it out to the end, we find more specific videos for enthusiasts of French bulldogs.
Yeah, that's what it's going to do.
As Kentucky 96 starts its journey, it starts moving around within the mainstream, where TikTok is trying to puzzle out what it wants. We programmed Kentucky 96 to be interested in sadness and depression. Let's see how long it takes TikTok to figure that out.
Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you.
So that's kind of like a problem, right? I remember this being talked about when this video came out, is that if you are depressed or sad on TikTok, odds are it's going to make you more depressed or sad because of the way the algorithm works. It will present you more content that it falls in line with what you're viewing. And that can be an issue when it comes to mental health, right?
So if life is taking people away from your life and putting new ones in.
Less than 3 minutes into using TikTok, at its 15th video, Kentucky 96 pauses on this.
And that love goes for a friend, family, or any relationship.
Kentucky 96 watches the 35-second video twice. Here, TikTok gets its first inkling that perhaps the new user is feeling down lately.
Whoever comes, let them come. Whoever stays, let them stay. Whoever goes, let them go.
The information contained in this single video provided the app with important clues. The author of the video, the audio track, the video description, the hashtags. After Kentucky 96's first sad video, TikTok serves another one 23 videos later, or after about 4 more minutes of watching.
I'll leave you alone from now on, if that's what you want.
This one is a breakup video with the hashtag sad.
You know why I leave you alone? Because I care about your feelings more than mine.
TikTok's still trying to suss out this new user with more high view count videos. Does the new user want to watch videos about friendship? Or to laugh at funny fail videos?
God, if I have to watch Chive one more time in a bar.
Or do they like videos about home repairs? Other information from your phone, including location, can impact the videos that are shown in a user's feed.
As a Kentuckian, I never thought I'd lose my freedom over a virus.
For instance, Kentucky 96 saw lots about Kentucky, but whether or not it keeps showing you that type of video,
he definitely got jabbed
depends
for
on
sure.
your response to it. A TikTok spokeswoman said the app does not listen to your microphone or read text messages to serve you personalized videos.
It doesn't need
At video
to.
57, Kentucky 96.
So if you've been on a website recently, one of the first things a website will ask you, depending on where you live, is if you accept the cookies. If you accept all cookies, you've just given that website to look at every other website that you've browsed and accepted cookies from. Even the mandatory cookies that are accepted there will be shared, depending on what the policies are. But that's kind of the way the internet works now. That's why a lot of websites are free to view. So they're free to view because what is being sold is your information. Information itself is the modern day oil. If you have information on people, then you can push ads to them. What you see probably on TikTok will show up more than likely when you're shopping. When you go to type into Google search and say, what do I want to eat today? Odds are something from a search or a video or something like that related will pop up, and people will be like, oh my god, the CIA is watching me. They're watching me eat chicken nuggies. No, it's just the cookies. It's the way advertising is done today because of how we've given up so much of our information willingly.
96 keeps watching a
In
video
policies.
about heartbreak and hurt feelings. And then, at video 60, watches one about emotional pain. Based on the videos rewatched so far, TikTok thinks that maybe this user wants to see more about love, breakups, and dating. So at about 80 videos and 15 minutes in, the app starts serving more about relationships. But Kentucky 96 isn't interested.
Your voice, your smile, your eyes, your laugh.
I said we said.
The user instead pauses on one about mental health. Then quickly swipes past videos about missing an ex.
I miss you, and I like having you around.
Advice about moving on, and how to hold a lover's interest.
He spends more time on his phone when he's around you.
Kentucky 96 lingers over this video containing the hashtag depression.
Something's wrong with me.
Yeah, this is
And
it's
these
going to make you
videos
more
about
depressed.
suffering
I
from
hope
anxiety.
they've fixed this part of the algorithm because this doesn't seem cool at all.
After 224 videos into the bot's overall journey, or about 36 minutes of total watch time, TikTok's understanding of Kentucky 96 takes shape. Videos about depression and mental health struggles outnumber those about relationships and breakups. From here on, Kentucky 96's feed is a deluge of depressive content.
Jeez.
93% of videos shown to the account are about sadness or depression.
People been looking at me. I'm just like, what you looking at?
A TikTok spokeswoman said that some of the remaining 7% of videos are to help the user discover different content.
Okay.
But for Kentucky 96, such videos were few and far between. The majority of videos it was shown outside of its depressive rabbit hole were ads. A TikTok spokeswoman said that the simulated activity generated by the Wall Street Journal's bots is not representative of real user behavior.
Okay,
because
sure.
Humans have a diverse set of interests. But even some of our accounts with diverse
Not
interests...
some of the humans I know.
We showed our data and many of the videos seen by Kentucky 96 to Shazlo.
What we see on TikTok is a bit the same that what we saw on YouTube. So basically the algorithm is detecting that this depressing content is useful to create engagement and pushes depressing content. So the algorithm is pushing people towards more and more extreme content so it can push them toward more and more watch time.
Exactly.
TikTok also says it allows you to see less of something by selecting the not interested button. But Shazlo says that's not enough.
Dude, I don't even know where that button is. Like that button is not present. Like on YouTube, YouTube's fairly easy, right? Like if I come to YouTube and I'm like, okay, let me go. I have YouTube Premium, so I don't see ads. But let's say I don't want to see any more Bernie or Netanyahu stuff. I'm going to click here, and I can go to not interested or don't recommend. Like either one of those work, and they work pretty well. But as far as TikTok's option, I have not seen that. But again, I'm not a big user of TikTok. I've just seen enough of TikTok to know that itself is dangerous. So that's why I don't use it as much. Oh, there it is.
Piece of content that you're vulnerable to, that will make you watch. But it doesn't mean you really like it. That's the content that you enjoy the most. It's just the content that's the most likely to make you stay on the platform.
Our bots only escaped rabbit holes when we changed their viewing interests. When we told one bot to stop watching videos about ADHD, the algorithm cut back on that content. Still, many of the journal's bots were rapidly pushed deep into rabbit holes.
Yep.
TikTok learned our bots' most far-flung interests, like astrology. But even bots with general mainstream interests got pushed to the margins as their recommendations got more personalized and narrow. Bots with an interest in sexual content wound up way out here, watching #KingTalk videos about sexual power dynamics.
Kink Talk?
And our bot with a general interest in politics wound up being served videos about election conspiracies.
Oh no!
Businesses. Impeach.
I'm sorry. But yeah, just like I said earlier, you can go back to the most replayed. All this stuff is automatically generated, right? Like all of these points right here, because obviously this is the most replayed because people are going back and rewatching the video from the beginning. But also, yeah, people are going to do the same thing that I just did and say, what did it just say? And rewind back to that part. But Kink Talk
videos about sexual power dynamics. And our bot with a general interest in politics wound up being served videos about election conspiracies and QAnon.
Businesses.
Impeach Biden and Kamala. They're communist, socialist, damn it. But that's my regular voice. So if you type in, I would imagine if you type in Israel or Gaza, it's going to bring up, all of the videos that people are watching right now on TikTok about the idea of bombing the shit out of people and shooting people that are trying to retrieve aid, either at the Flower Massacre or at the. They also, I believe, they shot people who were trying to retrieve the aid that had been dropped out of the airplanes. But anyway, that's a different story. I think I talked about that the other day. Did I just mute this? No, I didn't. Okay.
Biden and Kamala goes from the House to the Senate.
Deep in the niche worlds of TikTok, users are more likely to encounter potentially harmful content that is less vetted by moderators and violates the app's terms of service.
Make them angry and sad. They would be so much happier without you.
A TikTok spokeswoman said that the company catches a lot of banned content, which passes through both computer analysis and human moderators.
Okay, as a former moderator myself, it is very difficult to go through and look at everybody's content that everybody is posting. You would literally have to be terminally online, which I believe that I am now, but I'm not. I'm not a moderator or much of a content creator. Honestly, I do spend a lot of my time online. It's a problem. I recognize it. But in order to catch this stuff, like catch millions of videos that are being uploaded, it's very difficult to do. I think that's kind of one thing Meta kind of does right, is there's trigger words or whatnot that will get content either blocked or removed instantly, because the whole KMS and KYS kind of stuff is obviously bad. Yeah, there's also some racist content that should automatically be moderated. But yeah, it will catch stuff that is not necessarily meant to be intentionally offensive. So that's kind of an issue. But I would say probably for the good that it does is probably worth it. But having the ability to have a moderator review something and then having that done in a timely manner is something that that these companies should be paying for, that they should have teams for. But I think that's something that Twitter got rid of pretty much instantly as soon as Elon took over. He was like, we're gonna make sure that the view count goes up, and if that means that everybody's saying the N-word, then everybody's gonna be saying the N-word. And that is something that actually did increase in Twitter use after it got bought out by Elon. But moderation is really key into making social media better. But sometimes you have to moderate the algorithm. And I think that that's really kind of what they've been doing here. But at the same time that they've been moderating the algorithm for TikTok, they've also been kind of tailoring it to work even more deviously.
It also reviews videos reported by users.
Go. Don't tell them goodbye, just go.
Jesus.
There's a lot of fun, silly, and life-affirming content on TikTok. But while TikTok can draw out what makes you laugh, it can also make you wallow in your darkest thoughts.
Turning the pain from mental to physical work.
Without ever needing to eavesdrop on you or collect any personal information about you.
I've never attempted suicide or anything. I've never let it get that far.
Whether it's on TikTok,
Too
on
sad.
Facebook,
We're
or
too
YouTube,
sad.
we're interacting
Bring it
with
back.
algorithm in our everyday life more and more. We are training them, and they're training us.
Yep.
So we have to study this so we understand it better, and we don't let it go in directions that are harmful to society or to certain groups of people.
Can agree with the Frenchman. All right, so yeah, TikTok could be a yeah, maybe in 2 years, TikTok will kind of have an event that it's going to really give us a lot of information on, and maybe it'll be good. Unless you're in the government and you don't want people to see that stuff. That would be me saying this when I saw this video 2 years ago, back in whenever 2 years ago was. But yeah, that was a good piece from the Wall Street Journal. I remembered that. I came across it, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to talk about this right now, because TikTok. But I should have moved this guy over a little bit, because yeah, this is a little conspiracy theorist here with this guy from the ADL. But I think what we've seen is really APAC and kind of like the ADL being one of the groups that, or a couple of the groups that want to censor TikTok further, just because of what we've talked about, how much information is available on there, how easily it's available, how easily if something goes viral or is shared amongst peers, that it will reach the eyes of people that they might not want others to view. So here's a video from GDF. We're about to hit the 1 hour mark, and I think Moobot's going to instantly play like a 30-second commercial, so hang on if you get that. But let's check out GDF here. I'm going to crank this up because I know it's going to be low.
There are very few lobbies working the corridors of Capitol Hill with as much clout as AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. They're the people who tell the Congress which
So yeah, let's talk about AIPAC, right?
legislation affecting Israel they like and which they don't. Inside this building are the headquarters of AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee.
If there's one thing, if there's another thing that that the representatives of the House weren't talking about today, and it's kind of a weird time for Republicans to bring up the banning of TikTok again, right? Because Trump wanted to get it banned. Last time he was in office some odd years ago. So he wanted to get it banned. But now we have bipartisan support to get it banned. And that in itself is very suspect, right? Because previously it was a Republican issue. Republicans and Trump wanted to get TikTok banned. Trump bad, so whatever he does is bad. But now it's like, okay, well, both parties want it banned, so it must be good, right?
They would not let us.
There's probably a reason both parties want it banned. Both parties are supported and funded by AIPAC also. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is publicly available information. You can go and see who's receiving contributions from AIPAC. People like John Fetterman are receiving money from AIPAC. Obviously, he's wearing the flag like it's a cape.
Photograph inside their headquarters. AIPAC says it is the spearhead for support for Israel here in Washington. It is not a political action committee. It does not make campaign contributions. But the clout of AIPAC here on Capitol Hill is legendary.
Hey everyone, I am woefully overdue for this video. It's the Israel Lobby video. In as little time as I can manage, I'm going to explain what is essentially the thesis of one of the most important books on Israel, The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy by John Mersheimer and Stephen Walt. Again, this is long overdue, but I'm going to do right by you all and try to explain everything succinctly. Israel can do whatever it wants. We know this. We all know it. They can deliberately induce a famine and saturate Gaza with so many bombs it is one of the most bombed areas in the history.
65,000 tons of bombs on Gaza in 89 days. I imagine that number has gone up.
Of the world. Clearly, there's nothing they can't get away with. Of course, Israel enjoys a steady stream of military aid to the tune of some $4 billion a year, though it's more than that ultimately in a number of ways. But perhaps more important than this military aid is their diplomatic support from the United States. They can always rely on it without exception. When the Security Council votes to condemn or call for ceasefire or vote to grant the Palestinians a state, every single time, the United States votes in Israel's favor.
Gee, who's that person?
Favor. It is for this reason that Israel enjoys complete and total immunity from consequence for its many grave crimes against humanity. And now the same is true even as Israel is committing a genocide, something easily provable pursuant to international humanitarian law. I've made several videos on the topic. But today I'd like to explain why does the US do this? It's almost completely alone in the world in this regard. There are 4 important myths which Israel supporters will give to justify
almost completely
this extraordinary
alone
aid and
in
diplomatic
its support
cover.
for Israel.
Let's start with the first one. Myth number 1. Israel is a strategic asset. The Cold War era argument goes that Israel was an asset to check Soviet power in the Middle East. That's not...
So again, we're checking Soviet power, checking communism, making sure that communism doesn't spread. I'll interject here on GDF's video for a second, if I may. There were several efforts in the Middle East to have communist favorism, Afghanistan being a country that favored communism I believe it was in the 70s. And then Iran also being another country that favored communism, I believe in the 50s. That is on the other side of the world from the United States. And you know what? We can't have that. So, maybe if we just, install our own little friend here. Oh, wait, the UK did that for us in 1948. And we'll keep these commies in check and make sure that, we have an ally in the region.
Former National Security Advisor and Secretary of State Henry Kissinger believed. Our impression is that Israel must be strong.
Kissinger.
But Israeli strength does not prevent the spread of communism in the Arab world. Israeli strength provides for Israeli security. The best defense against the spread of communism in the Arab world is to strengthen the moderate Arab governments. So it is difficult to claim that a strong Israel serves American interests because it prevents the spread of communism in the Arab world. It does not. It provides for the survival of Israel. In 1982...
It's like he's trying to sell you one thing, but tell you another, right?
Still well before the Soviet Union's demise, Israel's invasion of Lebanon created Hezbollah, who killed hundreds of U.S. Marines in a suicide bombing at the barracks of the 1st Battalion.
They definitely did that.
Another bombing of the U.S. Embassy there was the single deadliest day in the CIA's history. The occupation of the Palestinian territories has further resulted in 2 uprisings that have killed thousands of people. The occupation itself is especially troubling, considering the territories were first acquired through a preemptive attack by Israel against Egypt, which brought Jordan and Syria to war, leading to another war over the captured territories, which almost led to
So that's actually a policy, is the, God, what's it called? The Begin Doctrine. The Begin Doctrine for Israel states that basically if they suspect that somebody is going to attack their state, they have the authority to do a preemptive strike. And that is a real thing. You can type in, well, I can't type in because my keyboard doesn't work. Because I have a fucking piece of shit computer that I'm really mad about right now. Begin Doctrine. The Begin Doctrine is a common term for Israeli government's preventive strike, counter-proliferation policy regarding their potential enemies, capability to possess weapons of mass destruction, particularly nuclear weapons. So yeah, this is back in 1982. So yeah, they essentially gave themselves, free play to do whatever they want. If they want to strike first, then they're going to strike first. If they believe that you're a threat, then you might be assassinated. There's also a huge list of IDF, Mossad assassinations. They also like to do a lot of assassinations. Where's the list? I was told there was a list. Here it is. A list of Israeli assassinations. And you can see they've done it in the 50s, in the 60s, 70s, 90s. They really popped off in the 2000s. There's a lot of the West Bank where they did a lot of assassinations. So yeah, they've really been operating. I'm still scrolling, by the way. They've really been operating, preemptively to keep things hush hush. Make sure that nobody attacks them because they're going to do the Begin Doctrine. They're going to do their assassinations. They also have the Samson option, which is
nuclear war.
Insane.
Hardly a stabilizing force in the region. As Mersheimer Walt put it, even if Israel was a valuable ally during the Cold War, that justification ended when the Soviet Union collapsed.
Right.
Myth number 2.
Yeah, because so to recap that myth number 1 was that it was to keep the region away from communism. The Soviet Union already collapsed in the 90s. Israel's still around and we're still supporting it.
We need Israel to fight terrorism. It shouldn't come as a big surprise that groups like Al-Qaeda attacked the United States largely because of their support for Israel. Years before 9/11, when a bomb-laden van exploded under the North Tower of the World Trade Center in 1993, a young Ramzi Youssef sent letters to New York newspapers claiming responsibility. As told by Stephen Cole, author of the Pulitzer-winning Ghost Wars: The Secret History of the CIA, Youssef issued 3 political demands: an end to all U.S. aid to Israel, an end to diplomatic relations with Israel, and a pledge to end interference with any of the Middle East countries' interior affairs. The terrorism that Israel practices, which is supported by America, must be faced with a similar one.
Now, you would say, hey, John, these guys are terrorists. They sound like bad guys. I mean, anybody that's blowing up a building or attacking the World Trade Center or whatnot, sure, they're terrorists. But also, you also have to see what's motivating these guys, because that might also qualify as terrorism in itself. When you got this huge list of assassinations and essential international interference by the Israeli military and by the Mossad, which is essentially the Israeli CIA. Here's the executor, Israeli Air Force. Here's the Mossad. They did this one in Iran. This is a car bomb, I believe. Is an Iranian physicist. So they're not only killing, their terrorist leader, whatever people, but they're also killing nuclear scientists. And so an electrical engineer. This guy was part of the PIJ. So, they have a wide variety of people that they will assassinate. Top IRGC general in Damascus, which they've done a lot of things in Damascus. There is no limit to what they do, so I'm not surprised to see retaliation from that.
The author notes that
just from an outsider
it made
perspective,
no references to Islam at all. Indeed, Yusuf seemed to define America as an enemy solely because of its support for Israel. Or take Abdul Rahman Yassin, one of Yusuf's co-conspirators, who said in an interview with Leslie Stahl,
"We have to send a message that this is not right. This is to revenge for my Palestinian brothers and my brothers in Saudi Arabia."
The architect of the later 9/11 attacks themselves, none other than Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, was also motivated by U.S. support for Israel, according to the official 9/11 Commission report. By his own account, KSM's animus toward the United States stemmed not from his experiences there as a student, but rather from his violent disagreement with U.S. foreign policy favoring Israel. There's also the man himself, Osama bin Laden. In Lawrence Wright's Pulitzer-winning The Looming Tower, the author describes a 14-year-old Osama. Sometimes he would sit in front of the television and weep over the news from Palestine. In his teenage years, he was the same nice kid, his mother later related, but he was more concerned, sad, and frustrated about the situation in Palestine in particular and the Arab and Muslim world in general. He was vocal about it in the years prior to 9/11.
So what this dude was seeing when he was 14 years old on his TV there locally is basically what we're all seeing now worldwide on TikTok.
Declaring in his 1996 fatwa, "It is no secret to you, my brothers."
And I would say, yeah, that would probably radicalize that guy. And I'm sure the United States recognizes that if this information and this exposure radicalized this person that was a multimillionaire at this point in his life, he came from a very rich family, that maybe that would be bad for the population of the United States to be exposed to the same things and see, through this guy's eyes, the behavior of the United States and Israel.
The people of Islam
Very
have been
relatable.
afflicted with oppression, hostility, and injustice by the Judeo-Christian alliance. Your blood has been spilt in Palestine and Iraq.
Mr. bin Laden, you have declared a jihad against the United States. Can you tell us why?
The US government has committed acts that are extremely unjust, hideous, and criminal through its support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And we believe the US is directly responsible for those killed in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq.
Americans are asking, why do they hate us?
This dude sounds like he's at church, by the way. Yeah, that was always the thing is in the United States when 9/11 happened, and not everybody knew about Muslims and Islam and really the Middle East at all. I think the most that we had seen at that point in time was probably the Gulf War, and previous to that, whatever else was going on in the region. We were busy with our MTVs and Balzac and whatever the hell else was being peddled on TV. Yeah, once 9/11 happened, it was definitely a wake up for the people in the United States to either investigate, like I tried to do, and find out why this happened, or just take up arms and become the biggest racist piece of shit, like a lot of people did in the United States, and then follow whatever word this guy said as gospel.
They hate what they see right here in this chamber. A democratically elected government. Their leaders are self-appointed.
So he's saying the Middle East leaders are self-appointed, which I don't necessarily find it to be true, because wasn't there an election to have Hamas be elected, and then there was an election to get the Palestinian Authority elected, and Fatah. So also we did a coup in Iran in 1952. We also supported the Mujahideen in Afghanistan in I believe in 1970s, in order to basically run out the Soviets out of Afghanistan. So to say that their leaders are self-appointed is to kind of lie. Really, this guy might be a liar. I don't know. But also to say that the United States is a democracy, I would also disagree with that, because in my opinion, I believe that the United States is really just a dictatorship of a two-party system, because that's what we've been at the mercy at for probably the longest, more in the majority of the time that the United States has existed. We really don't have a third option. There really isn't an option if you don't want to vote for the guy that wants to bomb brown people. Every guy is going to want to bomb brown people, because United States is just four military companies in a trench coat, right?
Hate our freedoms.
They hate our freedoms.
Myth number 3. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East.
Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. The
Thanks,
only
Charlie
place
Kirk.
where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully practice. I believe that America has a moral obligation to continue to support Israel.
Israel is neither a democracy, nor is it especially moral compared to other states. That's putting it lightly, but bear with me. First of all, in February of 2023, the Civilian Authority, or the body that governs the West Bank, was transferred to Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. In other words, the West Bank was effectively annexed in 2023. What has been ruled by a military commander for more than half a century was transferred over to civilian control, being administered by the federal government of Israel. Smotrich was given expansive powers over land surveying, registration, settlement construction, outpost demolition, infrastructure projects, including water, electricity, transportation, and other matters.
Wow.
Despite this extraordinary
quite a lot of power for
over
a
the
guy.
lives of some 3 million Palestinians, not a single one of them are able to vote in Israeli elections, despite being at the mercy of its whims.
That's weird. You annex a portion of Palestine, and you represent them essentially, but they have no ability to vote.
Is not a democracy, simply put. The perilous situation in Gaza is any...
Also, to serve in the IDF, you cannot be Muslim. There are no Muslims in the IDF. There also is, I believe there's an exception for the ultra-Orthodox. But yeah, there's definitely qualifications or specific qualifiers to serve in the IDF, and yeah, if that's not a hint of apartheid, I'm not sure what is.
Anything but the manifestation of a morally righteous democratic country either. I've also covered the topic of Israeli apartheid in the occupied territories and Israel proper as well in this video here. Besides, say Mersheimer and Walt, whether a country is democratic is not a reliable indicator of how Washington will relate to it. The United States has overthrown a few democratic governments in the past and has supported numerous dictators when doing so was thought to advance U.S. interests.
Is that Pinochet? That's Pinochet. Remember that time we killed the president of Chile in 1972? I remember. Yeah. So that was also a Kissinger operation.
Administration overthrew a Democrat.
We overthrew the government of Chile in 1972, 1973, and then we installed this guy, Pinochet, who proceeded to basically kill all socialists and leftists in Chile in a very much execution style by the thousands. Yeah, great people that we're supporting here.
Democratically elected government in Iran in 1953, while the Reagan administration supported Saddam Hussein in the 1980s. The fact that bills...
Why would we support Hussein? He's a bad guy. Apparently Reagan, sent him a lot of weapons.
And political parties in Israel are disqualified if they negate the existence of the state of Israel as the state of the Jewish people, or the democratic character of the state is also cause for some alarm, and contrary to basic democratic principles. In October of 2000, after Israeli police opened fire on Israeli Arab protesters, killing 13, the Israeli government set up the Or Commission to investigate what had happened. The commission concluded, which caused controversy in Israel, that government handling of the Arab sector has been primarily neglectful and discriminatory.
What?
Indeed, it's been officially observed by the Israeli government that Palestinian citizens of Israel, who are considered to be an example of why Israel doesn't practice apartheid, are far from equal to their Israeli counterparts. Indeed, this is observed by the majority of the Israeli population. What's worse, not only do they see it, most Israeli Jews support it. A 2016 Pew survey of Israeli Jews found that 79% believe they deserve preferential treatment. In the very same survey, 48% of Jewish Israelis agreed with the statement, Arabs should be expelled or transferred from Israel.
Oh, so like half.
There's also the strive for a Jewish demographic majority, to which Israeli officials have employed language that is little different from words uttered by white nationalists in the United States. In a 2003 speech, then Finance Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the Herzliya conference, if there is a demographic problem, and there is, it is with the Israeli Arabs who will remain Israeli citizens.
He's blaming. Oh my God. Okay.
2007.
This dude is vile. Wow.
Apologized to the Haredi community for child welfare cuts as finance minister, though he sought to put a positive spin on them as well. The unexpected result was the demographic effect on the non-Jewish public, where there was a dramatic drop in the birth rate.
Wow, that sounds intentional.
Posit, imagine the outcry that would arise here if a U.S. cabinet official spoke of the benefits of a policy that had reduced the birth rates of African Americans and Hispanics, thereby preserving a white majority. But such statements are not unusual in Israel. Myth number 4. Israel is surrounded by countries that want to destroy it. If I may, a caveat. In a 2004 interview with Haaretz, Israeli historian Benny Morris was asked if he identified with David Ben-Gurion, after having researched him for several years up to that point. I do not identify with Ben-Gurion. I think he made a serious historical mistake in 1948. Even though he understood the demographic issue and the need to establish a Jewish state without a large Arab minority, he got cold feet during the war. In the end, he faltered.
What?
The interviewer responds, I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that Ben-Gurion erred in expelling too few Arabs? Benny Morris, if he was already engaged in expulsion, maybe he should have done a complete job.
Holy
shit! I know that this stuns the Arabs and the liberals and the politically correct types, but my feeling is that this place would be quieter and know less suffering if the matter had been resolved once and for all. If Ben-Gurion had carried out a large expulsion and cleansed the whole country,
so
the
genocide.
whole land of Israel, as far as the Jordan River, it may yet turn out that this was his fatal mistake.
Holy fuck!
If he had carried out a full expulsion rather than a partial one, he would have stabilized the state of Israel for generations. The interviewer, the term to cleanse is terrible. Benny Morris, I know it doesn't sound nice, but that's the term that they used at the time. I adopted it from all the 1948 documents in which I am immersed.
Oh my God.
On the Palestinians, Morris opined, it is a very sick society. It should be treated the way we treat individuals who are serial killers.
Holy shit.
There is a wild animal there that has to be locked up in one way or another. Alright, so just so we're not confused, Benny Morris is no Palestinian sympathizer.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
Morris,
like it.
One of the Israeli new historians and author of The Birth of the Palestinian Refugee Problem, is well known for debunking the conventional myths of Zionist history. One of the most tenacious myths relating to 1948 is that of David and Goliath, that the Arabs were overwhelmingly stronger militarily than the Yishuv. The simple truth is that the stronger side won. Rashid Khalidi has gone into detail on this himself. Israel, in fact, outnumbered and outgunned its opponents. There were only 5 regular Arab military forces in the field in 1948, as Saudi Arabia and Yemen did not have modern armies to speak of. Just 4...
Are you telling me that by the UK bringing in basically an army, armed to the teeth, they created a resistance in the region that forced the other countries to basically become militarized?
4 of these armies entered the territory of mandatory
Are you telling me there's a cause to the end effect?
Palestine. The minuscule Lebanese army never crossed the frontier. And 2 of these, Jordan's Arab Legion and Iraq's forces, were forbidden by their British allies from breaching the borders of the areas allocated to the Jewish state by partition, and thus carried out no invasion of Israel.
We have to remember what World War I was about and how these lines were created and who they were created by, right? That's definitely key to this story here of the region.
So much of the Arab coalition wouldn't even invade Israel proper, much less seek its destruction. Indeed, as Benny Morris wrote in his 1948 and After, none of the Arab states, save Transjordan, committed the full weight of their military power to the enterprise, indicating either inefficiency or perhaps a less than wholehearted seriousness about the declared aim of driving the Jews into the sea. But even Transjordan, Morris writes, neither expected nor planned for Israel's demise, nor were the Arab Legion's operations from May onwards designed to bring this about. As previously noted, the 1967 war was sparked not by Arab states seeking to destroy Israel, but by an Israeli attack on Egypt. In the later 1973 war, says Morris...
Well, I mean, sir, that's the Begin Doctrine. They have the right to do that, right?
Anwar Sadat of Egypt
Preemptive
and Hafez
strike.
Assad of Syria sought to regain the territories lost in 1967.
You looking at me? That's a preemptive
Neither
strike.
Aimed to destroy Israel.
Looking at my shoes?
Despite a still widely held belief, apparently, since Helen Mirren starred in a movie which declares the opposite.
If the Arabs reach Tel Aviv, Israel will be wiped off the map.
Of course, today, Israel is one of the most powerful militaries anywhere in the entire world. The 4th most powerful military after the US, Russia, and China, according to US News and World Report. It is also the only country in the Middle East, and in fact, one of the very few anywhere with nuclear weapons.
No,
military
there's the Samson
prowess
option.
aided by the extraordinary aid received by the United States every year. Though the US and Israel didn't always have this special relationship. Harry Truman supported the UN partition plan and recognized Israel, but American policymakers didn't want to put their full weight behind the nascent Jewish state for fear of alienating Arab states. It wasn't until John F. Kennedy's presidency, when he authorized the first major arms shipment to Israel in 1963, that the floodgates opened. Anti-aircraft missiles and tanks were among the first arms. Why? J.J. Goldberg, editor of the Jewish Forward newspaper, explained in his work Jewish Power. Zionist influence increased exponentially during the Kennedy and Johnson administrations because the affluence and influence of Jews in American society had increased. Jews had become vital donors to the Democratic Party. They were key figures in the organized labor movement, which was essential to the Democratic Party. They were major figures in liberal intellectual, cultural, and academic circles. More than any of their predecessors in the Oval Office, John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson counted numerous Jews among their close advisors, donors, and personal friends. The Israeli victory from the Six-Day War saw shipments of military aid soar to new heights. In the early days of the State of Israel, U.S. officials believed it too weak to act as a counterweight to Soviet influence.
Okay, we're halfway through the video. I know he keeps saying, well, it's actually not that he keeps saying it. It's that it's the documents that keep saying that. There's one thing that's always happened is the conflation between where Jew and Israel, people that support Israel. I think that's kind of an issue historically. But what we've seen here is the support of Israel is heavily influenced in the United States government, or I'm sorry, the United States government. I forget what I'm trying to say. Anyway, play the video.
Simply put, Israel's military victories proved otherwise. From 1949 to 1965, U.S. aid averaged $63 million a year. By 1970, it was $102 million. And in 1971, U.S. aid reached a staggering $634 million.
That's just inflation, dude.
85% of that pure military
3% year over year, you know, right?
Quintupled
No, that's not 3%.
after the Yom Kippur War in 1973.
That's a little bit more than 3%.
Israel was the largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid, a status it has held ever since. Over the years, Congress has granted Israel
It's almost like this military state. You know, we create bombs, and you know we have to put them somewhere. But also, there's this military state that's just constantly dropping bombs that you know we could use to get rid of this old inventory. You know, sure, they're gonna kill a few brown people
in order to receive more aid and quicker.
Gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Explain. Most recipients of American foreign aid get their money in quarterly installments, but since 1982, the annual foreign aid bill has included a special clause specifying that Israel is to receive its entire annual appropriation in the first 30 days of the fiscal year.
It's required that they have to buy American weaponry.
The Foreign Military Financing Program normally requires recipients of U.S. military assistance to spend all of the money here in the United States to help keep American defense workers employed. Congress grants Israel a special exemption in the annual appropriations bill, however, authorizing it to use about 1 out of every 4 U.S. military aid dollars to subsidize its own defense industry.
Yeah, because the defense industry that they have is actually pretty substantial. They do create a lot of their own weapons. The Merkava, for example, is their own homemade tank. There's also like things like the Iron Dome, the Iron Sting, the Iron whatever you want to talk about. Everything's iron over there. Every little toy that they make is iron something. But yeah, they definitely have a military industry complex within the state of Israel.
Put it in a 2006 report for the Congressional Research Service that no other recipient of U.S. military assistance has been granted this benefit. Another CRS report from 2005 reveals, amazingly, that because U.S. economic aid is given to Israel as direct government-to-government budgetary support without any specific project accounting, and money is fungible, there is no way to tell how Israel uses U.S. aid.
What?
Again, a privilege not granted to any other recipient of U.S. aid anywhere in the world.
Oh.
Why does Israel get all these special privileges? If not for being an asset, but rather a liability. If not for being a democracy, a war on terror partner, or surrounded by states wanting to destroy it, why does Israel get all this aid? As Mersheimer and Walt would put it, simply, it's because of the lobby. But they maintain that the lobby isn't all that different from other lobbies. There are various ethnic lobbies that fight for their respective interests. There's a Mexican lobby, an Indian lobby, a Turkish lobby, a Cuban lobby. Mersheimer Walt provides extensive literature on ethnic lobbies. Cuban Americans have lobbied to maintain the embargo on Castro's regime. Armenian Americans have pushed Washington to acknowledge the 1915 genocide and, more recently, to limit U.S. relations with Azerbaijan, among other examples.
Azerbaijan.
There's one important difference with the Israel lobby, though. It's extremely powerful. We use Israel lobby as a convenient shorthand term for the loose coalition of individuals and organizations that actively work to shape U.S. foreign policy in a pro-Israel direction. A loose coalition indeed, though the Israel lobby is quite easy to identify. The 50 largest groups all belong to a conference of presidents of major American Jewish organizations. Here are all its members.
Wow.
But the American Israel Public Affairs Committee is the most important group. Back in 1997, Fortune magazine asked nearly 2,000
so much money laundering
insiders,
going on,
including members of Congress, their staffs, and senior White House officials, to rank the mightiest lobbying groups. AIPAC placed
might be a reason that we're all disillusioned on the people that we vote for.
Second, behind the 33 million member AARP. A key pillar of the lobby's effectiveness is its influence in the U.S. Congress. Whether the issue is abortion, arms control, affirmative action, gay rights, the environment, trade policy, healthcare, immigration, welfare, there is almost always a lively debate on Capitol Hill. But where Israel is concerned, potential critics fall silent, and there is hardly any debate at all.
Weird.
To understand why that is, we must examine AIPAC's grooming of congressional candidates. As former AIPAC President Howard Friedman explained in August 2006, AIPAC meets with every candidate running for Congress.
I have heard
candidates
this.
receive in-depth
So I remember I was watching a one of those podcasts with Scott Ritter, pedo Scott Ritter. Not a good guy, actually, but he does talk about his time in the U.S. government and his involvement. In that, he talked about how AIPAC essentially came after him and would continuously tell him that, hey, Scott, we have to talk. 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 He knew who AIPAC was. He did not want to be involved with them. He refused to acknowledge them, and they eventually started becoming a thorn in his side. So, yeah, these guys are heavily influential. They do exist. It's not some sort of weird, anti-Semitic conspiracy theory or anything like that. These guys have influence. They have influence in representatives that are available. And if not, if the influence isn't there, then they're going to find a way to be an influence.
To help them completely understand the complexities of Israel's predicament and that of the Middle East as a whole. We even asked each candidate to author a position paper on their views of the U.S.-Israel relationship.
Wow.
So it's clear where they stand on the subject. In 1990, Democrat Harry Lonsdale challenged the Republican senator from Oregon, Mark Hatfield. The word that I was pro-Israel got around, he said. Lonsdale described a visit to AIPAC headquarters during his campaign. It was an experience I will never forget. It wasn't enough that I was pro-Israel. I was given a list of vital topics and quizzed, grilled, for my specific opinion on each. Actually, I was told what my opinion must be and exactly what words I was to use to express those opinions in public.
Wow.
Shortly after the encounter at AIPAC, I was sent a list of American supporters of Israel that I was free to call for campaign contributions. I called, they gave, from Florida to Alaska.
Holy
There's
shit.
a reason Bill Clinton referred to AIPAC as better than anyone else lobbying in this town. Life is good on AIPAC's good side, but another reason why AIPAC is so effective is its ability to punish those who incur its wrath.
No,
In one stark
Elon.
example, Americans will remember what happened in February of 2019 when journalist Glenn Greenwald reported on Twitter that Kevin McCarthy was seeking to reprimand Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib over their criticisms of Israel. Ilhan Omar, the newly elected Somali-American representative from Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, responded with 6 words. It's all about the Benjamin's baby. But Omar was far from finished.
Yeah.
When asked, would love to know who Ilhan Omar thinks is paying American politicians to be pro-Israel, Omar replied with one word, AIPAC.
Nah.
Trump called on her to resign.
And I think she should resign from Congress, frankly.
Democrat Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, House
remember
Majority
that.
Whip Jim Clyburn, and Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi published a statement which read, anti-Semitism must be called out.
Weird how it always reverts back to people being anti-Semitic when they are critical of the state. It is weird how that conflation instantly occurs. I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, is, this conflation of associating the Israeli state with anything being critical of it being anti-Semitic. It is an instant conflation. It is done on purpose. It is definitely purposeful to get people to not criticize the state, because really, what is AIPAC lobbying for here? They're not really lobbying for military support. They're not lobbying for the support of like the people to get education or anything like that. They're not lobbying for a particular industry. They're just lobbying for the existence of the state.
And condemned whenever it is encountered without exception. We are and will always be strong supporters of Israel in Congress because we understand that our support is based on shared values and strategic interests. Congresswoman Omar's use of anti-Semitic tropes and prejudicial accusations about Israel supporters is deeply offensive. We condemn these remarks and we call upon Congressman Omar to immediately apologize for these hurtful comments. A statement that could very well have been written by AIPAC, for letter writing is their specialty, as we'll see later. AIPAC's political operation is used precisely as Representative Omar suggested, says former AIPAC employee M.J. Rosenberg. I know this because I witnessed it over and over again. I sat in AIPAC staff meetings at which the political director discussed whom we would be supporting in this campaign and whom we were going to destroy in that one. When asked whom she is accusing of buying members of Congress, Omar responded with one word: AIPAC. Period. Here's the thing. AIPAC is not synonymous with Jews.
That's true.
AIPAC has many weapons at its disposal, in its arsenal. It's remarkable the power of a letter-writing campaign.
Oh, there's that guy
let alone
again.
Editorials publishing op-eds by think tank pundits. When Gerald Ford, through his chief diplomat Henry Kissinger, was trying to secure peace between Israel and Egypt, they lost their patience. "You don't understand. I'm trying to save you," Kissinger reportedly told Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Ford even sent Rabin a letter, which read, "I have directed an immediate reassessment of U.S. policy in the area, including our relations with Israel." No less than 76 senators signed a letter opposing the administration. As then Senator from Maryland Charles Mathias wrote for Foreign Affairs, 76 of us promptly affixed our signatures, although no hearings had been held, no debate conducted, nor had the administration been invited to present its views.
That is quite the
One
influence.
senator was reported to have candidly expressed a feeling that in fact was widespread. The pressure was just too great. I caved. That senator was in fact Iowa's John Culver. Jumping ahead to 2002,
John
52
Culver of
senators
Culver's
signed a
Hamburgers? No way.
letter urging Vice President Dick Cheney not to meet with Yasser Arafat of the PLO. In one ambitious example, AIPAC mobilized thousands of pro-Israel activists to urge lawmakers to sign a letter to the Bush administration calling for an end to all American contacts with members of the Palestinian Authority. Some 6,000 AIPAC members took part, meeting with hundreds of lawmakers, pushing pieces of legislation mandating tougher sanctions against Iran and ensuring financial aid to Israel. No wonder former Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger once told AIPAC's Tom Dine, "Dine, I deal with you because you could hurt me." Or Democratic Senator from South Carolina Ernest Hollings as he left office in 2004. "You can't have an Israeli policy other than what AIPAC gives you around here." For not towing the line, as presidential hopeful Howard Dean failed to do, by suggesting the U.S. take a, quote, even-handed role in the Arab-Israeli conflict. Nancy Pelosi of California signed a letter with 33 congressional Democrats that said it is unacceptable for the U.S. to be even-handed on these fundamental issues.
Wow.
So control of one of the three branches of government is totally in the
betrayal.
hands of the Israel lobby. But it doesn't end there. There's also the executive branch. Again, this has been the case for decades. For example, AIPAC suffered a scandal in 1992 when Chaim Katz, a prospective donor, calling AIPAC's then-president David Steiner. But unbeknownst to Steiner, the conversation was being taped. The transcript is revealing. Steiner: "I have friends on the Clinton campaign. Close associates. Gore is very committed to us. I've known Bill for 7-8 years. I know him on a personal basis. I have friends. One of my friends is Hillary Clinton's scheduler. One of my officers' daughters works there. We gave 2 employees from AIPAC leave of absences to work on the campaign. I mean, we have a dozen people in that campaign, in the headquarters." He also bragged about lavish military aid. "I met with U.S. Secretary of State Jim Baker, and I cut a deal with him. Besides the $10 billion in loan guarantees, which was a fabulous thing, $3 billion in foreign and military aid, and I got almost $1 billion.
All of these fucking politicians always just slinging money around. And people don't have fucking $20 to rub together, man.
$1 in other goodies that people don't even know about." Steiner was right. Martin Indyk, co-founder of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and former deputy director of research at AIPAC, earned a seat at Clinton's National Security Council and went on to become the U.S. ambassador to Israel and assistant secretary of state. WINEP's other co-founder, Dennis Ross, also served prominently as Clinton's special envoy to the Middle East. These were Clinton's advisors for the 2000 Camp David summit. In the Bush administration, that's for another video. But this trend goes back years. Take a look at this 1987 New York Times article. Speaking of AIPAC, so impressive is its political mystique that now, 16 months before the 1988 elections, nearly all the presidential candidates have already met with AIPAC officials to be interviewed about their positions on the Middle East.
What the fuck?
This is an actual example, Mr. Tom Dine said. "I won't give you the name. One of the presidential candidates called us and said, I will be publicly declaring soon. and I am interested in hiring so-and-so for a top campaign position. Tell me what you think of him. Was it thumbs up or thumbs down, Mr. Dine was asked. Thumbs up.
Oh my God.
The Israelis are more than aware of the importance of AIPAC, with former Prime Minister Ariel Sharon telling an audience, "When people ask how they can help Israel, I tell them, help AIPAC." Sharon's successor, Ehud Olmert, agreed. "Thank God we have AIPAC, the greatest supporter and friend we have in the whole world." So AIPAC appears to have the executive branch as well. But aside from pure government influence, what shapes narratives in the media also influences not only policy, but also everyday conversation. Much of the time, editorial boards, executives, CEOs are staunchly pro-Israel. The longtime editor of the Wall Street Journal, Robert Bartley, once said, "Shamir, Sharon, Bibi, whatever those guys want is pretty much fine by me," a trend that appears to have continued after his death. Though the political affiliations of editors and CEOs is critical in understanding coverage, a topic I explore in this video about CNN's recent pro-Israel bias, the backlash from the lobby is itself a potent force. After Israel invaded Ramallah, Bethlehem, and most notably Jenin in the West Bank during the Second Intifada, intense public reaction to coverage of the violence of the Middle East conflict has prompted unusually harsh attacks on several news media outlets and has led to boycotts of the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and the Washington Post. WBUR-FM in Boston said it has lost more than $1 million in underwritings and pledges this year, nearly 4% of its annual budget.
That's a big chunk.
CNN chief news executive Eason Jordan said he could find up to 6,000 email messages protesting coverage in his inbox in a single day. In a callback to the experts filter, as in the 5 filters of the mass media laid out in the foundational media criticism text, Manufacturing Consent,
yes.
Mersheimer Walt explained that instead of relying on government officials or academics to provide analysis and commentary, news media increasingly depend on experts from Washington-based think tanks. Many think tanks also distribute brief and easily digested policy memorandums to legislators and other government officials. They organize seminars, working breakfasts, and briefings for officials and their staffs, and encourage their own analysts to publish op-eds and other visible forms of commentary, all with the goal of shaping the prevailing climate of ideas. So rather than Israel's democratic values or superior morality or there being a David among an Arab...
Yeah, where's their democratic influence here? Because it doesn't seem like there is one. It seems like it's just kind of like AIPAC running the show for them and garnering support. When in reality, there's... what is there to support exactly?
Goliath. The real reason for the absolute and total lack of accountability for Israel is the fact that Israel, through its powerful lobby in the United States, has effectively wrested control of our most important political institutions from the hands of the broader public to a small group of right-wing ideologues whose concern is territorial expansion and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians and hawkish policy toward Iran with the ambition of one day bombing it. All at the expense of the Palestinians, the Arab world, the Muslim world, and Israel and the United States themselves. Indeed, Israel's hand in the invasion of Iraq hurt, most of all, millions of Iraqis, but also Israel and the United States, by alienating Arab leaders and ultimately strengthening Iran and providing it numerous safe havens in the Middle East. That process will be the topic of my next video. Indeed, the Israel Lobby video is a series. Subscribe if you're new, and stay tuned if you've already been here.
For instance, this year, many pro-Israel PACs are trying to defeat incumbent Senator Chick Hecht of Nevada, even though he is Jewish, because he too did not follow the AIPAC line on weapon sales to the Arabs.
Hold on, what? Oh no, they primaried their own guy?
Indeed, the Israel Lobby video is a series. Subscribe if you're new, and stay tuned if you've already been here.
I just need to hear that
Many
again.
pro-Israel PACs are trying to defeat incumbent Senator Chick Hecht of Nevada, even though he is Jewish, because he too did not follow the AIPAC line on weapon sales to the Arabs. In recent years, AIPAC and the pro-Israel PACs have helped defeat, among others, Congressman Paul Findlay and Pete McCloskey, Senators Harrison Schmitt of New Mexico, Walter Huddleston of Kentucky, and Chuck Percy of Illinois.
I finally reached the stage where, as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, I saw our foreign policy totally turned around. With a Muslim world, 800 million people looking askance at the United States of America, what is happening, who is running the foreign policy. Can Israel and the Prime Minister have more power than the entire Senate of the United States or the President of the United States? And that, to me, I simply said, enough is enough.
Altogether, Israel gets more than $3 billion a year in assistance from the United States.
Sometimes the votes go through without a single debate.
Wow.
Involving billions of dollars. You couldn't spend that kind of money in this country without a huge debate going on. But the foreign government gets this money without debate because simply it's just organized to get it.
Huh. Amazing. Fantastic video by GDF. Like I said, I think there's always a problem with really, you know, like if you look at the people that are idiots about it, the people that are actually anti-Semitic about it, they always try to put it in simple terms, which it's not simple terms. They always try to conflate the state with the people, which you can't do because it's not all of the people apply to the state. Actually, there are a lot of the people that don't agree with the state or the existence of the state. So that in itself is an issue. So that's why a lot of people write that off as conspiracy theories. I think there is a lot of solid evidence, a lot of solid research by GDF done there that really presents the information as you can't really. It's not debatable. The information that's presented there is just factual. I think that really sucks for the United States, for the way that we vote, for the people that we vote for. I think that if there's one example primarily right now that comes to mind, it would be John Fetterman. John Fetterman posed himself as a Democrat that would, he was running against Dr. Oz. He definitely showed him up on social media, even with his health issues. He outwitted him in multiple ways, and like I said, with the health issues, he still managed to win. But once he got into office, that AIPAC money or the AIPAC itself, influence itself, became a major thing to the point where John Fetterman could be seen on the roofs of buildings, yelling at protesters, and then also, wearing the flag as if it was a cape. Extremely embarrassing content put out by Fetterman, somebody who seemed to be an expert in social media to that point. So it's just weird how, once these politicians get wind of, how serious this issue is, they just kind of fold, and either they fold and they become a pawn for the game, or they get primaried or run against. I think there was actually a story in recent news. It might have been from the Majority Report. What was it? AOC? I can't. I swear to God, I gotta get a better PC. Yeah, here you go. AOC, AIPAC tried to
flush with cash and it was rejected out of hand. Quote, I was expecting the corruption to be much more subtle, Trent recalled. This was basically a bag filled with cash. Now, this attempt to bribe AOC came after her 2018 appearance on PBS's Firing Line with Margaret Hoover, where she criticized Israel's occupation but admitted that she wasn't an expert on the issue and still needed to learn more. Now,
that's
that
kind of the
interview
issue,
sparked controversy.
Right? Is we're not all experts. We can't all be experts on the Israel-Palestine issue.
Well, let's go back and watch what she said.
And that probably is one of the main gripes that politicians currently have, with TikTok is that it's exposed so much more information. It's exposed so many more people to this conflict to look further into it. And then once people do learn about the conflict, they learn that, you know, maybe they're not favorable towards Israel. Sure, there are some people that are, but it seems like the majority, or those that have always sought the idea of trying to find out more about what's going on, end up finding out that there's a lot of fucked up shit that the IDF and Israel, the Israeli state, do. So kind of a major problem. And why wouldn't you want to silence
that incident more through just as an incident, and to me it would just be completely unacceptable if that happened on our shores. But I am, of course,
the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment right to protest.
Well, also, she's an elected official.
Yes, but
I'm sure she's getting it from all angles of people either telling her to shut the hell up and fold.
Palestine is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition, and that to me is just where I tend to come from.
I mean, she's not wrong there. Anyways, let's go to the most replayed part.
Partisan House resolution expressing unconditional support for Israel's government as it waged war on Gaza. Now, on top of that, members of the squad were among just 14 members of the House of Representatives to vote against a fascist-sponsored resolution equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
Oh, yeah, they
this
did push
is
that
why
policy,
AIPAC hates them so much. Now, AOC is already putting in the work to save her embattled colleagues and sent out a fundraising email on behalf of Jamal Bowman, letting people know that AIPAC's $100 million effort to defeat members of the squad is already underway.
Crazy how
so
you
I'm really
have
glad
to
see her have his back
basically
already, and I
fundraise against against another fundraising campaign. That's absolutely bananas. Yeah, so all right, I was going to talk about the port that's going to go down tomorrow, but I'm pretty tired. Yeah, basically the U.S. port that we have planned in Gaza was proposed in '93 as part of the Oslo Accords. Yeah, here's an article from 2014. This was proposed a long time ago. There was a person from the Israel Katz was the person that proposed the idea again, and that's why this is happening right now. So I firmly believe that there's going to be an issue with this port, especially if the IDF have involvement with it.
We began our report with a new maritime route to deliver aid
Here's a nice little graphic of what it's going to look like.
The coast of Gaza and a causeway connecting to the shore. Civilian ships would haul aid from Cyprus to the floating dock, where it would be picked up by Army watercraft, ferried to the causeway, and driven ashore. Tempting targets for enemies.
We are looking at all the protection capabilities that the Army has and that the joint military has in order to protect all of our assets.
Without interference, the Army could bring in 2 million meals a day, more in one day than all the U.S. airdrops so far.
And the airdrops are like 30,000 meals a day.
Devastation left by Israel's use of American-supplied weapons during its invasion of Gaza.
That I am surprised they actually said. You're giving the game away, sir.
Dave Harden is former USAID mission director for Gaza.
There are 6.6 million meals.
I gotta yawn because I'm very tired. However, he just said USAID. USAID has known to be nefarious in its actions. I'll mention that again one day. But the USAID actually had a influencer program set up that was anti-Cuban some odd years ago when they pushed a campaign and tried to show that there was like some sort of revolution going on in Cuba when there really wasn't. And USAID actually hired rappers that were Cuban. So USAID, not necessarily the best of cohorts, the best of programs that we have. But anyways, go on.
That are required. 2 million meals a day would help really kind of blunt the
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the point of those rappers? They were posting or told to create anti-Cuban songs, anti-communist songs. That's just another way of influence, I guess.
most horrific famine risk.
And David Martin joins us now from the Pentagon. David.
This guy sucks. I absolutely am not fond of this guy. CBS News Pentagon. He's in the Pentagon.
How complicated
David Martin
is this effort in terms of what could go wrong?
There's a lot that could go wrong. First, there's the weather. If the seas are above
National
2 or
Security
3
Correspondent
feet of waves, that mobile causeway will start to bob up and down too much. But the real wild card here, John, is security. The threat of attack by Hamas or some other terrorist organization. This is a U.S. military operation.
He knows the IDF's gonna bomb the shit out of this fucking port once we're out of the way. He absolutely knows this. You know what? I'm gonna save this content for Friday. What's today? It's Thursday already. I'm tired. I'm very tired. I'm gonna save this for Friday. I'm gonna save this slow boat for Friday. Because this is the boat that we're sending over there. Save that for Friday. Also, I was gonna talk about the airport that was in Gaza for Friday. And then, yeah, maybe we'll watch the news or something. Oh, we watched the news earlier. So, cool story. I am done here. I'm going to call it now. So, good night. It is 12:30 here in Central Time. It's sleepy time. Goodbye.